Right, making my own smoke units. I get tins like these. It has sellotape come in it, rolls of sellotape from the shops, and I cut it down to this length or this size, and I'm going to give a cough. And once I've cut it down, you have to watch out because that is a very, very sharp edge. It's very rough when you look at it, but that's not a problem, not a worry at the moment. I have to drill holes there, there, another one there, and I also, on the lid, I have to drill 2 holes. Now they are 1/8 drills, and 1/8 in size. These 2 here are to carry my, if I can get it in there, that is going to hold the wick for the burner. So that's that. Then I open up the Bible here so I know what I'm talking about. Well, sound as if I know what I'm talking about. You need a length of, it's called heat resistant sleeving. It's a fibre type of stuff, and it slides over, over there like that. And it gets tight because it's a firm fit, and that will be like that there. But that has to be done as you insert the pipe through here. Tricky. So that's 2 of the components. The third component, or another component, is that resistance wire. I'm looking at the monitor and it's all back to front, but I think that's probably going to be okay when you view it. So we need resistance wire. We also need a wick of some sort. Now years ago I used to heat my model railway room with a velour kerosene heater, and I've got a heap of wicks for them. Now that's the burning wick for an old velour heater, and I've taken a wee bit off. One of those bottom bits there I have taken off, and pardon me, I've tasseled it out into threads like so. So what I'm going to have to do is wrap the wick around that, 2 cable connectors. Unfortunately you're unable to solder these because of the heat remelts the solder. And I think that's about all of the components I need. So what I'll do now is I'll take a wee cut, because this is quite a tricky job. You've got to try and roll that round there, like that, roll it round, and you've got to hold it there. You hold it there and then wrap your resistance wire or thread it around there, around and around and around and around and around, leaving a thread off each end, and the wrapping it round is actually to tie these in, hold them on there. So I'll do that and I'll come back to you. Okay, that's done. Pretty rough, eh? You see I've got one end of the resistance wire there and the other end there. So what I've got to do is hold them in there and feed that through there. Try and see if it will work, if I can do it. I'll try and see if I can do it, see, and while you're viewing, do I have to cut it? The film I'm talking about, feeding that in. I don't think I'm going to do it. I'm going to have to cut the film and do it. No, It's going through quite nicely. Almost there. Almost there. Come on, I've just got to get it into that last little hole there. There, you see the wee hole here. That's terribly shiny in there, that tin, isn't it? That's shocking. Shockingly shiny. Right, there we are. We're in. You got your 2 wires hanging up here. Where? There. 2 wires, one there and the other there. And then all the wick just hangs down into the bottom. And that's pulled right out, you see. So I have to realign that again. So there you are. Now what I've got to do next is I've got the solder here. And I've got the solder there. And that anchors that in place then. Soldering onto there doesn't seem to worry it, that they're okay. So I won't do that. I'll just carry on with the assembling of it. I need a screwdriver and some wire, so that'll be the next one, trying to get these ready. I shall come back. Okay, okie dokie, I've opened up the lens, the screen a wee bit so as you can sort of see it. I did actually have to put a tab of solder on there because it kept falling out on me. Most frustrating. So however, I've got the wires and I've threaded them in. I just got to pull a bit of the wick out that got through that hole. Right. I put the cable joiners over where the wick, oh gosh, hard to see, over where the wick, beg your pardon, over where the wire and the resistance wire joins, because this does get very hot. I've had to go in one other time, and when I got in there I found that this here, all the plastic had melted and I was only left with a what do you call it, the brass joiner. Don't screw it up too tight, just tight enough to hold everything, and you've got to do that with both of them. So there's the orange one. Got to find where it joins on there, fold that down, round the bend, back down, hold it about there and screw that. Now I have actually made a boo-boo on this. I always make boo-boos. It's part of the thing of model railways. I've actually drilled that hole too low. It should have been up the other end. So I failed on that one. So we'll put that around there like that. That all just sits there, pull that wire out. It'll all just sit in there like that. The lid, now before you fit the lid on, we go to the local automotive shop and I buy some, it's in New Zealand, it's called Mani-Seal, which is a sealant for the exhausts on your cars. So what we do is I just get the tube and I put it all around, and that's around that edge there. I'll also bung it around the wires because you can't solder that, so I bung it in there and fill that hole up. Then we'll see if it fits, and then I push this on while that Mani-Seal is still loose, soft I should say is the correct word. I bung that on. Now there's your smoke unit all made, ready to go. Just got to connect the power. But hang on, you're going to put that chimney over the top of that. So once again I use this stuff. Can you see what it is? Yeah, it's KS or K&S brass tubing. Once again you insert it in there like that, solder it, and then you can cut it to length. Then this comes up the chimney, because you'll drill a hole under the chimney on the building and that will come up, that pipe there will come up. So, and you also put another one in here which comes to just above the layout surface, and I put a self-tapping screw in there. That is the feeder for putting the fluid in. I used to do it with just the one, so you can imagine that that's the chimney, and I used to put the fluid in down this pipe, put it in at the end of the pipe, but it blocked the pipe, didn't all drain out. But so that's how I make my chimneys. Or just as they say on TV and the cooking shows and everything like that, I just happen to have one here under the bench that's working, that is ready. And I've got the stool on the power cable. I've got a Markland transformer. Any sort of transformer will do. You turn it around that way so you can see. You need a power into your positive and your negative. Turn that around a wee bit. And you don't need too much power in there. So I'll take that one bit of plastic tubing. Now that's cooking, so if I come down and puff into that, you should see smoke come out of there. Unplug it, and that will keep going for a wee while. I don't know whether you can see that or not. But however, and to finish off, I just wrap the whole thing in insulation tape. That is quite warm, that is quite warm at the moment. I only had it on for a few seconds. But that is my my smoke units that I make. This pipe is the filler. That one there is where the smoke comes out. It comes out there, and I use that plastic tubing. That's the type of tubing you, if you've ever been unfortunate enough to be in hospital and they've bunged you on the oxygen, it's the same tubing as carries the oxygen to you, up to your nose. So I had a good supply of that. I did at one stage have the air come in here, and the one that's holding the wick on, I put a little wee V shape on there, and that used to be a pump in there. So I could still put the air in there and have these two. Well, that could be a filler, and that one's your what do you call it? That one there is your up the chimney. Like I said, this one here, you take that screw out, you put another bit of plastic tubing over it, and then that tube goes to a an aquarium pump, which pumps air. That's where all the bubbles, when you look in an aquarium and you see the fishies swimming around and all these bubbles coming from the bottom of the aquarium. So I'll get one of those and plug that in to there, and that will pump the air. So it's not as if I got to sit there and go huff 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 all the time. But that's it. I hope you could follow what I was doing, and I'm going to install this under my factory. I've got to build the kit yet, and I do have a chimney, the part of the kit that I want to rebuild. I've got this one here which has been kit bashed. I'll transform it away. Yep, this one has been sort of kit bashed and that, but it's just won't fit properly, so it's mainly the building I want to rebuild. But likewise, you see, you could insert that, if that is your that bit there, if that goes up your chimney, it goes up. You can't see that, can you? It goes up into that chimney like that, and it's sitting underneath the baseboard, and then the smoke waffles off out of the chimney. Or you could have this here near the front of your layout, and you have a long length of tubing, and that tubing likewise is inserted up there, right up the chimney there. You can see it popping around in there. Can you? I can. There, see? and that be sitting on the layout, and you have a hole there, and you can have this here any length you want. So I could have this at the front of the layout, and I could have the chimney at the back. Just before I do install it, you might be able to see there's where the power wires go in, and they're up high because when you push your smoke fluid in, it of course will be floating around in the bottom of that reservoir. So if you've got your hole down too low, it's going to try and dribble out of there. Yeah, right, so the smoke fluid I use, I shall go and get that now, and I shall show you. Okie dory, I'm back. Got 3 different kinds of fluid. By the looks of it, you think I'm a overdoer of it, but I bought a bulk lots. The first one's the commercial, the German Seath. Can you read that? That's clearer. That's a nice little a smoke fluid. That's the smoke fluid you'll use in the locomotives and buildings that have their units in it. Got this one here, which is called frog juice. It's a bit funny shaped bottle, but it's a water-based product, it says, and as you can see there, it's got a fog machine, which I actually have, and it just blows all this fog out, and the smoke, and that's the type of fog you see at those concerts and stage shows and things like that. And then we've got this one here, which is a similar smoke fluid. It's got it written there. I had this for years and years and years, so I've got enough to see me out. But those are the lot I use. Now, as you can see, this is one of the smaller containers. I do have smaller ones, but I've aptly named that smoke fluid. So all I do is remove the top, syringe in, and it is working. It just seemed a bit reluctant there for a start off. It doesn't seem to be drawing much out. It doesn't matter. And then you bring your smoke unit into view, Donald. Put the syringe in there and push. Right, that smoke fluid is loaded into that unit, ready to go. So I'm going to install that now, and once I've got it installed and temporarily wired up, and the, what do you call it, the tubing up the chimney, I'll come back to you. Right, it's in place, and you see that drops down at the moment. So what I've got to do is make up a bracket just to hold that up, no problem. Then you run your wire, beg your pardon, you run your piping along there. You can see it all go in there, goes through there, across there and disappears up. Keep the turns rather, I call them fluid, you know, even curves, nothing tight, because it will pinch the pipeline and it won't work. So there it is, the tube's out. Slide it up over the chimney, or into the chimney, and push it down a wee bit. Come on, down a little bit, Josephine. Ah, sorry, I'm looking at what I'm doing and not the camera, but that'll be all glued down there. Right, next silly thing, power. Try and get that to take, but it doesn't want to, so I'll hold that on there for a minute. Just getting some power there. And because I haven't got the pump, I've got myself a tube. So I'm going to have to do some puffing. I'll see what happens. Oh, that puffed me out. People reckon I'm full of wind, but oh, that was a bit of an effort, that one. So I'll go and get the... No, I won't. I'll have to wait till Tuesday because Monday's a holiday here in New Zealand. And I'll go and build up the kit for the new boiler house. And then I'll buy the pump and I'll install the pump underneath the layout there possibly. And then I'll make the reservoir there, or the smoke unit. I'll mount that properly, and it's all done. Simple, very, very simple. Yeah, so look what I found. That's my pump. Yeah, pump off another layout. Right, I've connected a tube to it, as you can see. I shall turn it on. It's buzzing. Connect a bit of power there. Yep. And what's happening with the chimney? Because it's a long way for that smoke to travel, or that air to travel. Is it working? Yeah, I can see it coming out. Look at that. Oh, look at it. I don't get puffed with this though. I disconnect the power and just let that run. Ah. Don't you feel good when things work for you? And see, she's thinning out, so you get a bit more power into the cooker and then the unit, and you'll see the smoke will start thickening up again. Look at that. I could almost start a disco, dimming the lights and what have you. You know, what is it? You know. Yeah, look at that. Stop being a kid, Donald.